If you had told me a year ago that my best friend, my straight married best friend, would offer me money to sleep with him, I would have laughed in your face. Or maybe walked away, confused and insulted. But here I am, telling you the story of how that exact thing happened, and how I said yes. Let me start at the beginning. My name's Jesse. I'm 26, and I live in Seattle. I've known Adrian since we were 14. We met in gym class, of all places. I was the artsy, soft-spoken kid who sucked at dodgeball. He was a golden boy. Varsity soccer, perfect smile, girls' attention on autopilot. But somehow, he sat next to me, joked around, and made me feel like I mattered. Our friendship outlived high school, college, and even the early chaos of adult life. We went from playing video games in his basement to grabbing drinks after work and complaining about rent. We always said we were ride or die, best friends forever. Then he got married. To her. Her name's Dana. She's smart, successful, gorgeous, and if I'm being honest, a little icy. The kind of woman who smiles with her lips but not her eyes. She never liked me much. Thought I was too close to Adrian. Once, she even asked him why he spent so much time with me when they were planning their wedding. Still, I played nice. I stood next to him in a tux on their big day, smiled for the pictures, toasted them at the reception. I watched him kiss her like it was a star forever, and I tried to swallow the strange ache in my chest. I didn't know what that ache meant back then. Maybe I still don't fully. Fast forward to now, 3 years into their marriage. Adrian had changed. He seemed tired. Not physically, but emotionally. His smiles didn't reach as far. He texted less. Canceled plans more often. But every now and then, he'd show up at my place unannounced, collapse on the couch, and say, I just needed to be somewhere real. One Friday night, he did just that. I'd just gotten out of the shower when I heard the knock. Hair still damp, towel around my waist. I opened the door and found him there, hood up, face tense, like he was running from something. Dude, I said, stepping aside. You good? He nodded but didn't say much. Just walked in, took off his hoodie, and dropped onto the couch like gravity hit him harder than usual. We sat there in silence for a while, the soft hum of music playing from my speakers. I handed him a beer. He took it. Then, out of nowhere, he said it. Would you sleep with me? I actually laughed. I thought he was joking. But when I turned to look at him, his face wasn't playful. It was serious. Desperate, even. What? He didn't repeat it. He just looked at me, jaw tight, eyes pleading. I blinked, trying to process what was happening. Are you drunk? No, he said, voice low. I've thought about this. For months. Adrian, I trailed off because what else could I say? This was my best friend. The guy who used to throw chips at my head during sleepovers. The guy whose wedding I stood in. The guy who was married. Then he said something I'll never forget. I'll pay you. I froze. You'll what? I'll pay you, Jesse. Whatever you want. Just one night. I need it. I looked at him, heart pounding. You're not making sense. Yes, I am. You know I'm not happy. Dana and I, we haven't been right in a long time. That's not my problem, I said, voice shaking. No, but I can't stop thinking about you. I dream about you. I wake up needing you. And I can't talk to anyone else about this. The air between us felt electric, hot, heavy, and full of danger. Are you even gay? I asked. He hesitated. I don't know what I am anymore. I stared at him, caught between disbelief and something else. Something darker, deeper. A part of me wanted to push him out the door. Another part wanted to pull him closer. And you think paying me makes it okay? No, he said. I just thought it would make it easier. Less complicated. More like a transaction. I let out a breathless laugh. You think sex is a complicated part? He didn't answer. Instead, he stood up, walked over, and sat next to me, closer than he ever had before. Our knees touched. I'm not trying to disrespect you, he said, but I need to feel something. Something real. And I trust you more than anyone else in my life. His words hit something in me that had been buried for years. Maybe longer. I remembered the way I used to watch him laugh. The way I'd memorize his features when he wasn't looking. The way I always said I was straight too, just to match him, to keep him around. But I'm not. And maybe he isn't either. I stood up, needing space. This is insane. I know, he said softly. I don't even know how to respond to that. Then don't. Just think about it. I'll leave. He grabbed his hoodie, walked to the door, and then stopped. I meant what I said, Jesse. I need this. And just like that, he was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at my ceiling, heart pounding, thoughts racing. I thought about all the years of friendship, all the moments that maybe meant more than I realized. I thought about what it would mean to say yes or to say no. And then, the next morning, I opened my phone. A message from him. I transferred $500 to your Venmo for your time, whether or not you say yes. I stared at the screen, stunned. He was serious. This wasn't some drunken mistake. This was a choice, a cry for something more. And somewhere inside me, a part of me wanted to answer it, not for the money, but for him, for us, for whatever this strange, tangled thing was between us that we'd never been brave enough to name. But if I said yes, everything would change, not just between us, but in me, and maybe that was what scared me most. Should I say yes? Would you? Part 2 will reveal what I decided, and how it went down moment by moment. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter of this emotional, forbidden story. I stared at my phone for what felt like hours. $500 for your time. The Venmo notification just sat there, taunting me, like proof that this wasn't some weird dream. Adrian, my best friend, my married best friend, had really offered me money to sleep with him, and now he was gone. No more messages. No calls. Just silence. I didn't know what I felt. Anger? Shock? Confusion? Maybe all three. And something more dangerous. Curiosity. What would it be like? What would he be like? What would it mean for us? All I knew for sure was I wasn't ready to answer any of those questions. I didn't leave my apartment that day. I didn't eat much either. I just lay on the couch, going over every memory I had of him. Every moment that, in hindsight, felt different now, like that time in high school when we shared a bed during a camping trip, and he stayed closer to me than he needed to, or the night before his wedding, when he got drunk, hugged me too long, and whispered, "You were my first real love, you know that?" I'd laughed it off back then. Not anymore. The next day, I got another message. "Adrian, I shouldn't have dumped that on you. I'm sorry. I'm not okay. And I don't know how to deal with it." I stared at the message, rereading it. This wasn't just about sex. This wasn't some fantasy he wanted to play out. This was something deeper. Messier, me, can we talk? Face to face. "Adrian, you sure?" "Me? Yeah, come over. Tonight." He showed up just after 9 p.m. This time he didn't knock. Just walked in like he used to back in college. Like this was still his second home. He looked tired, not physically, but emotionally drained. I handed him a glass of water. No beer this time. I needed both of us to be sober for whatever this was. We sat in silence for a few minutes. I finally broke it. "Why now?" He looked at me, blinking slowly. "Because I can't fake it anymore. Not with her. Not with you. Not with myself." I nodded, heart pounding. "And the money?" He winced. "That was stupid. I thought if I paid you, it would feel less personal, like a transaction. Safer, I guess, but it was insulting. I'm sorry." I studied his face. For once, he wasn't hiding behind charm or sarcasm. He looked exposed. "I don't need your money, Adrian," I said quietly. "I know," he replied. "But do you still want me?" That question hit like a punch to the chest. I looked down at my hands. "I never stopped wanting you." That's when he moved closer, slowly, like he was afraid I might vanish. "I don't know what I'm doing," he whispered. "Neither do I," I said. His hand brushed mine. I didn't pull away. Then he leaned in, not rushed, not aggressive, just soft, hesitant. And our lips met. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't movie magic. It was better. It was real. Years of unspoken feelings poured into that one kiss. His lips were warm, trembling. His hands cupped my face like he couldn't believe I was real. When we pulled apart, I saw it in his eyes. Fear and relief tangled together. "I've never kissed a guy before," he said. "You've kissed me now." I whispered. He let out a shaky breath and leaned his forehead against mine. We stayed like that for a moment, quiet, connected. Then he said it. "I want this, all of it. If you'll have me." I didn't answer with words. Instead, I stood up, took his hand, and led him to my room. The air changed the second we walked in. It felt electric, sacred, heavy with anticipation. I turned to face him, heart racing. "We don't have to do anything you're not ready for." He stepped closer. "I'm ready. I've never been more sure about anything." There was a tenderness in the way he touched me, as if every movement was a question, asking for permission. I answered with my body, my breath, my hands pulling him closer. Clothes were removed slowly, carefully. He stared at my chest, then ran his fingers across it like he was mapping unfamiliar territory. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "You've always looked at me like that." I said, voice cracking. "You just didn't realize it." We fell onto the bed, bodies tangled. The awkwardness I expected wasn't there. What replaced it was something gentle, something new. He explored me like he was trying to memorize every part. And I let him. It wasn't just physical. It was emotional, intimate in a way that made my chest ache. He kissed me like he meant it. He held me like I was fragile. And when it was over, he didn't roll away or act weird. He stayed, wrapped in the sheets, in my arms, breathing me in like I was home. We lay in silence for a while, my fingers tracing patterns on his bare back. He shifted, resting his head on my chest. "I've never felt this safe before," he said. I kissed the top of his head. "That's because you're finally being honest with yourself." He didn't answer right away. Then he said something that made my stomach twist. "But what do we do now?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Because this wasn't a one-night thing. Not for me, and not for him, I could tell. But he was married to someone who had no idea this part of him existed. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I know I don't want to pretend this didn't happen." He looked up at me. "I don't want to go back to pretending either." Then he kissed me again, slow, deep like a promise. The next morning, he left before sunrise. No long goodbye, just a soft kiss on my forehead and a whispered, "I'll call you." I lay there for hours after he left, sheets still warm, heart still beating fast. Had I just made the biggest mistake of my life? Or the bravest decision I'd ever make? Because one thing was clear. This wasn't over. Not even close. The night happened. But what about the next morning and the fallout? In part 3, Adrian calls with news that changes everything, and Jesse starts to question if he was just an escape or something real. The morning after felt unreal. I lay in bed, still tangled in the sheets that smelled like him. His warmth lingered in the air, like the memory of a dream I didn't want to wake up from. But I was awake, and he was gone. No note, no text, just silence. I should have expected that, right? He had a whole life to get back to. A wife, a house, responsibilities, guilt. Still, a part of me, some fragile, reckless part, hoped he'd stay, even if just for breakfast. Instead, I was alone, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of what last night had actually meant. Was it real? Was it love? Was it just a man running from something and falling into the arms of the safest person he could find? That last question hurt the most. My phone buzzed around 11 a.m. His name lit up the screen. Adrian. My heart jumped. I stared at it for a second longer than I should have before answering. "Hey!" He didn't speak right away. Just breathed on the other end. Then finally, "Hey!" His voice sounded raw, like he hadn't slept much either. I swallowed. "You left early." "Yeah," he said softly. "Didn't want to wake you." "You could have." Silence. "I didn't know what to say," he finally admitted. "I still don't." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "So don't say anything. Just be real with me." He exhaled shakily. Last night was more than I expected. Me too. Another silence. Then came the words I dreaded. I told Dana I needed space, that I'm staying at my brother's for a few days. I sat up in bed, heart racing. You told her? Not everything, he said quickly. Just that I wasn't happy. That I needed time to figure things out. And are you? I asked quieter now. Figuring things out? I don't know, Jesse, he whispered. All I know is, when I woke up beside you, I didn't feel lost. I felt safe. That should have made me feel good. But it didn't, because safe isn't the same as wanted, and needed isn't the same as loved. I cleared my throat. So what happens now? I don't know. You keep saying that. I said, sharper than I meant to. He paused. Do you regret it? I didn't answer right away. Finally, I said, no. I just don't want to be your escape plan, Adrian. You're not. I might be. I cut in. And if that's what this is, I need you to be honest, because I can't go down that road. Not again. He went quiet. The kind of quiet that says everything. I'll call you tonight, he finally said, voice low. I promise. Okay. And then the line went dead. The rest of the day dragged. I worked from home, but barely got anything done. My brain was on a loop, replaying his voice, his touch, the way he looked at me like I was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. Was I enough? Or was I just the soft place he landed after crashing? Around 6 p.m., I went for a walk. I needed air, space, something to pull me out of my head. The sun was starting to set, casting the sky in soft pinks and oranges. I walked aimlessly, hands stuffed in my jacket pockets, heart heavy. That's when I saw him, Adrian, sitting outside a little coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment, alone, staring into a cold cup of coffee, like it had the answers he couldn't find. He hadn't called me. He just showed up. He looked up and saw me. And in that second, everything in my chest twisted. I walked over slowly. You stalking me now? He cracked a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Didn't know where else to go. I sat down across from him. We didn't say anything for a moment. Then he looked up at me, eyes tired. I couldn't call. I didn't know what to say. So I came. That's becoming a pattern, I said. He nodded. I told Dana more, he admitted after a long silence. Not everything. But I told her I've been questioning things, that I have feelings I don't understand. I stiffened. Did you tell her about me? No, he said quickly. But I think she knows, or at least suspects. I ran my hand through my hair, trying to process. What did she say? She cried, asked if I was cheating. And are you? He looked at me, eyes wide. I don't know how to answer that. It's a yes or no question, Adrian. He looked down at his coffee again. Then maybe you do know. I added more to myself than him. He reached across the table, took my hand in his. I don't want this to be a mistake, Jesse. It's not a mistake, I said, but that doesn't mean it's right. He looked up. I want to figure this out with you. You're married, and I might not be for long. The words hit hard. You're leaving her? I don't know yet, he admitted, but I'm not lying to her anymore, or to myself. I searched his face. So what am I to you now? He didn't answer immediately. Then quietly, you're the only thing that feels real. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But something inside me still screamed, protect yourself. Don't fall too deep. So I nodded slowly. Okay, then figure it out. But I'm not going to be your secret. He nodded. I don't want you to be. We sat there, hand in hand, as the sun dipped below the horizon. And for the first time in days, I felt something close to hope. That night, he came over again. But it wasn't like before. We didn't tear off our clothes. We didn't lose ourselves in the sheets. We just lay there, fully clothed, wrapped around each other, talking. He told me about the night he realized his marriage was wrong, how he'd watched Dana fall asleep beside him, and felt like a stranger in his own life. He told me how many times he'd almost kissed me, how long he'd buried feelings he didn't understand. I listened, and for the first time, I really believed him. We fell asleep like that, holding each other, heartbeats sinking. In the morning, he was still there. No quick exit. No awkward goodbye. Just him, making coffee in my kitchen like he belonged there. But nothing is ever that simple. Later that afternoon, I was folding laundry when my phone buzzed again. A known number. I answered without thinking. Is this Jesse? Yes, who's this? The voice on the other end was sharp. Cold. This is Dana. My stomach dropped. She didn't wait for me to speak. I know everything, she said. He didn't tell me, but I'm not stupid. I saw the way he changed. I knew it was you. Dana, don't bother denying it. I don't care about excuses. Just know this. Whatever fantasy you two think you're living in, it's not real. He's mine, and he always comes back to me. Click. The line went dead, and suddenly, the world didn't feel so hopeful anymore. I stood frozen, phone still in my hand, as Dana's voice echoed in my mind. He's mine, and he always comes back to me. It was like someone had poured ice water down my spine. Until now, Adrian's marriage had felt distant. Something he talked about in regret, something slowly falling apart. But that call, that made it real. She knew about us, and whether he told her or not, the damage had already started. When Adrian came over that night, I couldn't pretend everything was okay. He walked in with this nervous smile, carrying takeout like nothing had happened. Hey, figured you probably haven't eaten. Dana called me. He stopped mid-step, smile vanishing. What? She knows. His whole body tensed. Did she say what she knows? I stared at him. Does it matter? He put the food down slowly, carefully, like it might explode. What did she say? That I'm a fantasy, that you'll always come back to her. He sighed, rubbing his face. I didn't want her to find out like this. You mean you didn't want her to find out at all? Jesse, I stepped back, crossing my arms. Have you even told her you're in love with someone else? He looked at me, shocked, vulnerable. Is that what you think this is? Love. My throat tightened. I don't know, Adrian. Is it? He walked closer, slowly. You think I'd be doing all this, risking everything if it wasn't love? Then say it. He blinked. What? Say it. Say you love me. The silence between us grew heavy. Finally, he whispered, I'm not ready. Those 3 words stung more than I thought they would. He reached for my hand. I pulled away. You can sleep on the couch tonight, I said, voice quiet. I need space. His eyes softened. Jesse, I need space, I repeated. He nodded slowly and walked into the living room. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours. I could hear him tossing and turning on the couch. 2 people in the same apartment, both drowning in the same storm. In the morning, he was gone. Not a word, not a note, not even a text. Again, and this time I didn't chase him. Days passed, then a week. No calls, no messages. I buried myself in work, in friends, in anything that could distract me from the echo of his voice in my head. But the silence hurt more than I'd expected. Because even if I was angry, even if I was scared, I missed him. One night, while out with some friends, I got a message. Adrian, I'm sorry. I messed everything up. I'm trying to fix it. Please don't hate me. I stared at it for a while. Then another text followed. Adrian, can I see you? Just to talk. I should have said no. I should have protected my heart. But I said yes. He came over that night. He looked different. Hollowed out, like he hadn't slept in days. I told her everything, he said the moment he walked in. I sat down, breath held. Everything. He nodded. I told Dana I've been in love with you for years. That I've been lying to both of us. That I'm not straight. That I don't want to be married to her anymore. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What did she say? She broke a plate, he said with a sad laugh. Then she cried. Then she told me to get out. I swallowed. So, what now? He looked at me with tear-filled eyes. Now I have nothing. No home. No wife. No plan. I stood up and wrapped my arms around him. Yes, you do. I whispered, "You have me." He held me tighter than he ever had. And then, finally, he said it. "I love you, Jesse. I think I've always loved you. I was just too afraid to admit it." My heart cracked open like it had been waiting all this time. "I love you, too." We kissed. And it was like every unsaid thing, every fear, every wall we built between us just melted away. He stayed with me after that. It wasn't easy. He was grieving the life he left behind, the years he'd spent pretending, the pain he'd caused. But through it all, he let me in. Some nights he'd wake up crying. Some mornings he couldn't get out of bed. But I was there for all of it. Then one evening he surprised me. "I've been looking for apartments." I blinked. "You want to move out?" He smiled gently. "Not because I don't want to be with you, but because I need to build something new for myself, not just jump from one life into another." I nodded, heartful. "I get it. And when I'm ready," he added, reaching for my hand, "I want you in that life, not as a secret, not as a phase, but as my future." I couldn't help but laugh, overwhelmed. "You're serious?" He leaned in and kissed me, dead serious. We started rebuilding from there. Slowly, carefully, he met my friends, told them the truth, started therapy, even talked to Dana again, this time, to apologize properly and offer a closure. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest, and for the first time in a long time, we were free. Free to love, free to grow, free to finally be us. It's funny how quickly life can shift from chaos to calm and then right back into chaos again. Adrian and I had found a rhythm. Quiet mornings, shared meals, soft kisses in the kitchen before he left for work. It was tender, real. Everything I used to dream about when I'd lie awake at night, wondering what it'd be like if he ever chose me. And he had. He chose me. But the world outside our little apartment hadn't forgotten who he used to be. It started with the whispers. A friend of his, one for his old gym, saw us walking together, hand in hand. It was innocent, really, but that's all it took. Adrian got a text the next morning. "Dude, is that true? You left your wife for a guy." He stared at the screen for a long time before setting it down. I didn't pressure him. I just asked gently, "Do you want to talk about it?" He shook his head. "Not yet." But I could see the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface, the fear that he was about to become someone else's scandal. A few days later, things escalated. Someone from Dana's family posted something cryptic online about betrayal and unnatural choices. They didn't name him, but the implication was loud. Then a mutual friend reached out to me, casually asking, "So you and Adrian? Is that a thing now?" That's when I realized we weren't in hiding anymore. Not really. Word had spread. People were drawing their own conclusions. And Adrian? He was struggling. One night, he came home later than usual. I was cooking dinner. The moment he walked in, I knew something was off. His shoulders were tense, face pale. He didn't even take off his coat, just walked straight to the couch and sat down, staring at the floor. I turned off the stove and walked over. "Hey," talk to me. He looked up, eyes tired. "I saw Dana today. We had to sign some financial papers." I sat beside him. "How did it go?" He laughed bitterly. "She called me a coward, said I blew up our life for a phase, that eventually I'll wake up and realize I ruined everything for nothing." I reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. "She thinks I'll crawl back to her once I realize this isn't who I really am," he whispered. I squeezed his hand. "And do you believe her?" He turned to me, eyes sharp. "No, I believe in this. In us. But God, Jess, it hurts. Knowing people think I'm some confused traitor, that I destroyed a marriage just to experiment." "You don't owe anyone your truth," I said softly. "But I know how heavy it is to carry it alone." He leaned into me. "How did you do it? How did you come out and just live your life?" I exhaled. It wasn't easy. It took losing people, years of second-guessing. But in the end, I realized I could either live for them or live for me. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said something I didn't expect. I won't tell my parents. I blinked. Are you sure? He nodded. They deserved to hear it from me, not from gossip. The next weekend, we drove to his parents' house, an hour outside the city. He was silent the entire ride. At one point, he turned to me and said, "You don't have to come in. I want to. I don't know how they'll react." I know, but I'm not letting you face it alone. His parents were polite when we arrived. His mother hugged him a little too tightly, like she knew something was wrong. We sat in their cozy living room, fireplace crackling, and then Adrian told them everything, that he'd left Dana, that he was seeing me, that he was finally figuring out who he really was. His mom cried. His dad stood up and walked out of the room. I held Adrian's hand the whole time. His mom didn't say much, just shook her head and said softly, "I always knew something was different." When his dad finally came back, his face was unreadable. "You're still our son," he said, "but this is going to take time." Adrian nodded. "I understand." On the drive home, he stared out the window. "They didn't disown me," he said, "but they didn't really accept it either." "It's not about how they react," I said. "It's about you finally being honest." He turned to me. "I'm not hiding anymore, Jesse. Not from anyone." The following week, Adrian did something brave. He posted a photo of us together. Nothing suggestive. Just us at a park. Smiling. Simple. Real. The caption read, "It took me years to understand myself. I'm still learning. But for the first time in my life, I feel free. I'm happy. I'm with someone who makes me feel whole. If that bothers you, that's not my burden to carry anymore." The comments poured in. Some were cruel. Others were surprisingly supportive. But the important part? Adrian didn't hide. Not anymore. That night, after he put his phone down, we sat on the floor eating Chinese takeout. "You okay?" I asked. He smiled. "No, but I'm better than I've ever been." And then, as casually as anything, he said, "I think I want to introduce you to my nieces next weekend." My heart skipped. "You mean like a family thing?" He nodded. "I want them to see me happy. I want them to grow up knowing it's okay to be different." I reached over and touched his cheek. "You're becoming the man you always were meant to be." He kissed me gently. "Because of you." But just when things were starting to feel stable, something happened. A message from Dana to me. "I want to talk. Just us. No drama. One conversation. That's all I'm asking." I showed it to Adrian. His face went pale. "Do you want to meet her?" I asked. He hesitated. "Do you?" I nodded. "I think I need to." He looked unsure. "She can be intense." "I can handle it." He nodded slowly. "Then do it. But please be careful." We met at a quiet cafe downtown. She looked tired, worn down, but composed. She got straight to the point. "I didn't ask you here to yell," she said. "I've done enough of that. I just want to understand." "Understand what?" "How this happened." I took a deep breath. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a scheme. Adrian and I, we were friends for years. And somewhere in all of that, we became more. It confused him. It scared him. But it was real. She nodded slowly. "I believe you." I blinked. "You do." "I know what love looks like," she said, her voice cracking. "And as much as I want to hate you, I can't, because I think he finally found what he was always searching for." I sat there in silence. She wiped her eyes and continued. "He hurt me, and I'll need time to forgive that. But I don't want to carry bitterness. It's heavy. I never wanted to take him from you." I whispered. "He made his choice. And he chose right," she said. "You should know that." When I got home, I told Adrian everything. He looked stunned, then relieved. "She's stronger than I thought," he said. "And so are you." He smiled. "So are we." For weeks, things between Adrian and me were good, really good. There were still moments of awkward silence when we passed people who knew him or when he scrolled past a nasty comment online. But he'd stop, take a breath, and reach for my hand like a lifeline. And every time, I'd hold on tighter. We were getting used to normal. We shopped for groceries together, argued about what to binge watch, took Sunday walks through the park holding iced coffees like any other couple. It finally felt like we were building something solid. But nothing stays untouched for long. One night, we were curled up on the couch, halfway through a movie, when Adrian's phone buzzed. He checked it, then froze. I looked over. Who is it? He hesitated before flipping the phone around. Text from, Caleb, heard you finally cracked. Didn't think you'd actually go through with it. Guess I was wrong. I sat up. Who's Caleb? Adrian rubbed his face. Old friend. Well, more like the first guy I ever felt something for. My heart thudded. Like romantically? He nodded. We never did anything. Not really. Just this constant tension that we never talked about. He knew I was married. I knew he was reckless. So we stayed friends. And then I cut him off. Why? Because being around him made it too hard to keep pretending. I swallowed. So why is he reaching out now? Probably because people are talking. He always had a sixth sense for drama. You gonna reply? He shook his head. Not tonight. But I saw it in his eyes. Something unresolved. And I didn't like it. The next day, Adrian seemed distant. I tried not to overthink it. We all have our moods. But by day 3, I couldn't ignore it anymore. You've been quiet, I said as we ate breakfast. He nodded. Sorry, just been in my head. Is it about Caleb? He didn't answer at first. Then he texted again. And he wants to meet, just to talk. I blinked. Do you want to? He looked me dead in the eyes. I don't know. I hated how that felt. Do you think you still have feelings for him? No, but I think I have questions. About who I was. About what I ran from. I nodded slowly. Then meet him. But be honest with him and with me. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Always. They met at a cafe downtown. I didn't go. I didn't ask questions. I waited. Hours passed. Then the door opened. Adrian walked in, quiet. How'd it go? I asked. He shrugged off his coat. We talked. He flirted. I shut it down. I exhaled. He said he always knew I had a thing for men. He thought I'd never admit it. Told me he was shocked to see I came out for someone, rather than for myself. That stung. But he's not wrong, Adrian added. I didn't come out because I was finally free. I came out because I couldn't live without you. My breath caught. I've been thinking about that, he continued. And I realized I don't want to just react to life anymore. I want to make choices. For me, he pulled something from his coat pocket. A key. To my new apartment, he said. It's ready. My heart sank a little. You're leaving? He walked over and cupped my cheek. I'm building something that's mine. So when I ask you to move in, it won't be as someone I'm hiding behind. It'll be as the man I've finally chosen to become. I blinked back tears. Are you asking now? He smiled. No, but I'm close. Over the next few weeks, he got busier, setting up furniture, starting a new job, meeting with a therapist. I supported him, proudly, but sometimes I missed him, missed the late-night talks, the sleepy forehead kisses, the way he'd hum in the shower. Now I get a text, long day, call you tomorrow, and I'd stare at my phone like something inside me was drifting away. Was this what growth looked like? Or was I slowly being left behind? One night, I got a message from an unknown number. You think he's yours? You're just a phase like the rest of them. No name, no ID, but I knew who it was. Caleb. I showed Adrian the text the next day. His jaw clenched. I told him to back off. Well, he hasn't. He looked furious. I'll handle it. No, I said. I will. I typed back one message. He chose me, and if you had ever truly cared about him, you would have respected that. Don't contact me again. Blocked. Done. Adrian pulled me into a hug. I'm sorry he dragged you into this. It's not your fault. It kinda is. He kissed my forehead. This won't happen again. I promise. A few days later, Adrian texted me. Come over tonight. I made something special. When I got there, candles were lit. Music was playing softly, and he was standing in the kitchen with 2 plates of homemade pasta. I laughed. What's the occasion? He looked nervous. Sit down. We ate, talked, laughed, and then he pulled a small envelope from his pocket. This isn't a ring, he said quickly, so don't freak out. I raised an eyebrow and opened it. Inside, a lease agreement with both our names. You said you weren't ready. I whispered I wasn't, but then I realized I don't want a future I build without you. I want us to build it together. My heart felt like it might burst. So what are you saying? He smiled. I'm saying, Jesse, move in with me. Let's stop waiting for the right moment. Let's create it ourselves. Moving in with Adrian felt like the next chapter of a dream I never thought I'd get to live. We were careful, thoughtful, excited. He gave me the bigger closet. I gave him the side of the bed he liked. We bought matching mugs, even though neither of us drank much coffee. The first few weeks were pure bliss. Lazy Sundays in our pajamas. Late-night movies. Cooking experiments that usually ended with burnt edges and laughter. We were building a home, not just a space. But as comfortable as it felt, something was slowly shifting. I could feel it in the quiet. It started with small things. Adrian would get this far away, look sometimes, like he was in the room, but not really, or he'd wake up drenched in sweat from nightmares he never talked about. At first, I didn't push. We all carry weight. I knew he was still working through guilt over Dana, the backlash from his family, and whatever emotional mess Caleb left behind. But it started piling up between us like invisible bricks. I tried to reach him, gently. You okay? I'd ask. Just tired, he'd say. You seem quiet tonight. Work stress. I nodded each time, but I knew better. He wasn't shutting me out on purpose. He just didn't know how to let me in. One night, I came home to find him sitting on the floor, back against the couch, staring blankly at an old photo in his hands. It was him and Dana, their wedding day. I froze. He looked up, startled. Hey, I didn't hear you come in. I walked over and sat beside him. Why are you looking at that? I found it in one of the boxes. I didn't mean to. His voice trailed off. He looked down at the photo again. I lied to her, Jesse, he whispered. For years. You lied to yourself, I said gently. She used to dream out loud about kids, vacations, retirement, all these things. And I just gnawed along like I believed in that life, too. Because back then, you didn't know what you really wanted. He shook his head, or I was too afraid to admit it. I placed a hand over his. You're not that man anymore. I know, but sometimes I wonder if I deserve all this. You, the peace, the love. You do, I said firmly. We both do. But something had shifted that night. He started pulling away. Not in obvious ways. He still kissed me good morning. Still said, I love you before bed. But there was a distance, one I couldn't ignore anymore. The breaking point came one Friday night. We were supposed to go out with some friends. His first time being openly affectionate around people who only knew him as the married straight guy. I was excited, nervous too, but mostly just proud of him. But he bailed last minute, said he had a headache. I offered to stay home, but he insisted I go. So I did, and when I got back, he was gone. Not just out, gone. No note, no message, just silence. I waited hours, called, texted, nothing. My mind spiraled. Was he with Caleb? Had the pressure finally cracked him? Was this his way of saying goodbye? I barely slept. Around 4 a.m., the door opened. He walked in, eyes bloodshot, face pale. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, where were you? He dropped onto the couch like the weight of the world had snapped his knees. I drove, he said. Just nowhere, for hours. Why? He looked up at me, guilt thick in his voice. Because I'm scared, Jesse. Of what? Of ruining this. Of ruining you. I've already destroyed one life. I don't want to destroy another. You think being with me is ruining me? No, he said quickly. That's not what I mean. I don't know if I'm ready for this. For everything that comes with it. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Then why did you ask me to move in? Because I love you. But loving you doesn't mean I'm healed. Doesn't mean I've stopped feeling like a fraud. I knelt in front of him. You're not a fraud. You're a man trying to figure it out. And I'm not asking for perfection, Adrian. I'm asking for honesty. I didn't go see Caleb, if that's what you're thinking, he said. I just drove to the ocean, sat there, tried to remember why I fought so hard to come out in the first place. And he finally met my eyes, because I want a life that felt real, not polished, not quiet, just real, like this, like you. I exhaled, relief flooding through me. Then I sat beside him, our shoulders touching. You don't have to be okay every day, I said. You just have to let me be there on the days you're not. He leaned his head on my shoulder. I'm trying, he whispered. I know. After that night, things weren't magically fixed, but they changed. We started therapy. Together, he finally began unpacking all the pain he'd buried. The guilt, the shame, the fear of being judged, the regret of waiting so long to live honestly. I was there through all of it. Some sessions were quiet. Others were explosive. But week after week, brick by brick, he started letting go. And so did I. One evening, we were walking home from dinner. Adrian stopped suddenly and looked at me. Do you remember when I asked you to move in? I laughed. Kinda hard to forget. I didn't really know what I was doing back then, he admitted. It was a leap, half love, half panic. Sound about right. He grinned. But if I asked you now, today after everything we've faced, would you say yes again? I stopped walking, turned to face him. I'd say yes fast in the first time. He smiled, then reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a tiny velvet box. My breath caught. He opened it. Inside wasn't a ring, but a key. Another key. This is to our place, he said. I changed the locks, not because of fear, but because I finally feel safe. My throat tightened. He held it out. No more separate lives. No more escape hatches. Just us. Messy, flawed, beautiful us. I took the key, held it like something sacred, then pulled him into the warmest, deepest kiss we'd ever shared. We were finally in a place that felt like home. Not just the apartment, but us. Adrian and I had stopped tiptoeing around the past. The quiet was no longer a threat. It was comfort. It was peace. Mornings started with shared coffee and sleepy forehead kisses. Nights ended with tangled limbs, soft laughter, and whispered, I love yous. It was the kind of life we never thought we'd get. Simple, solid, ours. But real love doesn't mean a life without chaos. It just means having someone to hold when the storm hits. And the storm came fast. It started with a phone call, a number I didn't recognize. I was in the kitchen, making breakfast. Adrian was in the shower. The voice on the other end was calm, but too calm. Hi, is this Jesse? Yes. This is Mercy General Hospital. Are you listed as an emergency contact for Adrian Mills? My heart stopped. Yes, I am. Why? What happened? He was found unconscious outside his office this morning. He's stable now, but we'd like you to come in as soon as possible. I dropped the phone. Literally. It hit the floor and slid under the table, but I didn't care. I was already grabbing my keys. When I got to hospital, they led me to the ER holding area. Adrian was there, hooked up to machines, pale as a sheet, eyes barely open. I rushed to his side. Hey! I whispered, brushing his hair from his forehead. I'm here. He gave me a tired half-smile. You look like hell. Right back at you. He tried to sit up, winced, then gave up. What happened? He sighed, fainted, apparently from exhaustion and dehydration. Guess I haven't been eating much. You skipped dinner last night, and lunch, and breakfast, and maybe the day before. I closed my eyes. Adrian, I didn't mean to scare you. I held his hand. You didn't mean to, but you did. And you scared yourself, too. Didn't you? He nodded. A doctor came in a few minutes later. Friendly but firm. Physically, Adrian's okay. He just needs rest, fluids, and food. But emotionally, I asked, mentally? The doctor sighed. There's burnout here, possibly depression. You mentioned therapy. Keep it up, and don't let him push it aside. He's been under a lot of pressure for a long time. Eventually, the body forces the mind to pause. Adrian closed his eyes again. I sat with him in silence, heart heavy. He had come so far, but I'd missed the signs. I'd been so relieved by the surface peace. I hadn't looked deeper. When we got home later that evening, I helped him into bed. He stared up at the ceiling. I thought if I stayed busy enough, he said, I wouldn't have to feel it all. Feel what? Everything. The guilt, the loss, the fear that none of this will last. It can last, I said, but only if you let it breathe. He turned toward me. You deserve someone who's not a constant fixer-upper project. I didn't fall in love with you because you were finished. I fell in love because I saw you fighting to become you. That means more to me than perfection ever could. His eyes softened. You really mean that? I nodded. I don't need perfect. I need present. I need honest. And I need you. All of you. The next few weeks were slower. We paused everything we could. No more overworking. Fewer social events. Lots of homemade soup and old sitcom reruns. Adrian went back to therapy. This time, he asked me to come along sometimes. We talked about fear, trauma, masculinity, shame. He opened up about things I never knew he'd buried, like the time in high school when a friend had threatened to out him and he panicked, dating a girl just to bury the rumors, or how his father once told him real men don't cry, and he hadn't cried again for a decade, until the night he left Dana. We held those truths between us like fragile glass, and somehow, instead of shattering, they gave us strength. One day, a letter arrived in the mail, a plain white envelope with elegant cursive on the front. It was from Dana. Adrian stared at it for a long time. I don't have to open this, he said. Not if it'll hurt you. I shook my head. Open it, if you're ready. He did. Inside was a handwritten note. Short, careful. Adrian, I wanted to hate you. For months I did, but now I just hope you find peace. I hope you love him better than you ever loved me. And I hope you never lie to yourself again. Goodbye. Dana. Adrian blinked. Then, for the first time in front of me, he cried. Not the kind of crying you hide behind your hands. The kind that leaves you breathless. Raw. Free. I held him through it all. That night, he whispered something into my chest as we lay in bed. I don't know if I believe in soulmates, but if they're real, you're mine. I smiled against the skin. I don't care what you call it. I whispered. Just don't stop choosing me. Never, he said, but we both knew love wasn't a finish line. It was a choice we'd have to make again and again. So we made it, every single day. Adrian had been doing better. He was eating regularly again, sleeping without nightmares, and even started sketching again, a hobby he'd abandoned after his wedding fell apart. I would wake up some mornings to the smell of paint and the soft sound of music drifting from the balcony. That quiet creativity, that was him coming back to life. So when my friend Marco invited us to a gallery opening downtown, I thought, why not? It was a small, intimate event. Queer-friendly, mostly artists and their partners. No flashing cameras. No drama. Adrian hesitated at first, but after some nudging and the promise of tacos after, he agreed. I'll try, he said. For you. No. I corrected, kissing his cheek. For us. That night, we dressed up. He wore a navy button-down that brought out the green in his eyes. I kept it simple. White tee, leather jacket, the necklace he gave me for my birthday. We looked like a couple, not just roommates or best friends. Real. Together. Walking into that gallery felt like walking into the spotlight, even though nobody was looking at us. But for Adrian, every glance probably felt like a judgment. I could feel it in how tightly he held my hand. I've got you, I whispered as we walked in. He nodded, and for a while, everything was good. We admired the art, sipped cheap wine, laugh with strangers, and even slow dance to a quiet acoustic set in the back. It was the first time we were seen as partners in public, and it felt incredible, until it didn't. We were standing near a sculpture when I heard someone say his name. Adrian. We both turned. A man stood behind us, mid-30s, tall, clean-shaven, clearly surprised. Wow, I almost didn't recognize you. Adrian blinked. Eric. Eric smiled. Yeah, small world, huh? Adrian's voice dropped. What are you doing here? Eric glanced at me. I'm showing tonight. That's one of mine. He pointed at a mixed media piece across the room. I didn't know you were into queer art spaces, he added. I'm here with Jesse, Adrian said, motioning toward me. Eric looked me up and down, smirked, then turned back to Adrian with a raised brow. Wow, so it's true then. You really left Dana for a guy. Adrian froze. My grip tightened on his hand. Eric chuckled. Man, I remember when you used to sit in Bible study and lecture us on God's design. How the mighty have fallen, huh? Adrian's face went white. He wasn't just embarrassed. He was ashamed, crumbling from the inside. I stepped forward. Hey, that's enough. Eric held up his hands. Relax. I'm just surprised. I mean, you had the whole straight white picket fence life. Marriage. Suburbs. Church. Guess we all live long enough to become what we judged, right? Adrian didn't say a word. He just turned around and walked out. I ran after him. He was already down the street by the time I caught up. Adrian, wait. He kept walking. Hey, please, stop. He finally did, but he didn't look at me. His voice was low, cold, distant. I shouldn't have come. Adrian, I'm not ready. I thought I was, but I'm not. You didn't do anything wrong, I said. That guy was a jerk. No, he was right. He snapped. I was a hypocrite. I am a hypocrite. I stood in front of people like him for years preaching about righteousness and sin, and now I'm walking around like none of that ever happened. You changed, I said. You grew. That's not hypocrisy. That's healing. He shook his head. No, that's just convenient. You're not being fair to yourself. Maybe I don't deserve to be treated fairly. That broke something in me. Stop, I said, my voice trembling. You don't get to self-destruct just because someone from your past showed up to poke old wounds. That man doesn't know who you are now. I do. He stared at me. I know the Adrian who stayed up all night making soup when I was sick. I continued. The Adrian who held my hand through therapy. The Adrian who cried when Dana forgave him. That's the man I love. His jaw clenched. But if you're going to let one bitter face from your past make you question everything we built, then maybe you're right. Maybe you're not ready. I regretted the words the second they left my mouth, but they hung there, heavy between us. His eyes glistened, but not with tears. With guilt. He took a deep breath. I'm sorry, he whispered. You didn't deserve that. I looked down. Neither did you. But you can't keep punishing yourself forever. At some point, you have to let go. He nodded slowly, then stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me. I'm scared, he murmured into my shoulder. I know. I don't want to lose you. Then stop running every time it gets hard. We stood like that for a long time, under the dim yellow glow of a street lamp. Two people trying to fight the weight of yesterday for the chance at tomorrow. Later that night, curled up on the couch in silence, Adrian finally broke it. That guy, Eric, we were close. Years ago, before Dana, before everything. He told me he had feelings. I cut him off, told him I wasn't that way. I shamed him. I looked at him. He forgave me eventually, but I never forgave myself. Seeing him tonight, seeing me, I think it was his way of flipping the script. You don't owe him anything, I said softly. You've already paid your debt. He nodded, then looked at me with tired eyes. I don't want to hide anymore. From them. From myself. From you. Then don't. Will you stay? He asked. I'm not going anywhere. I said, but I need you to stay too. Not just in this apartment. In this. In us. He leaned in and kissed me. And it wasn't the kind of kiss that says, I'm sorry. It was the kind that says, I'm still here. Adrian never really talked about his parents. I knew their names, Margaret and Thomas. But beyond that, just vague comments here and there. They don't ask questions, he once said, and I don't offer answers. It always felt like a wound he didn't want me to touch, and I respected that. But life doesn't always wait for your permission. Sometimes it knocks on your door without warning. Sometimes it doesn't knock at all. It was a quiet Sunday morning. We were in sweats, coffee in hand, deciding which movie to fall asleep to on the couch. Then came the knock. 3 short taps. Adrian looked confused. Expecting anyone? No, I said. You. He stood, cautiously walking to the door. I heard the creak of the hinges. Then a voice. Feminine. Tense. Hi, sweetheart. Adrian froze. Mom. I stood up. And Dad. A deeper voice answered. We were in town. Thought we'd surprise you. I walked to the hallway and saw them, his parents, both dressed in modest church clothes, standing with stiff posture and uncertain eyes. They hadn't seen me yet. I was just a stranger in the hallway, but not for long. Adrian turned to look at me, panic flashing in his eyes. I took a breath, stepped forward, and offered a polite smile. Hi, I'm Jesse. His mom blinked. His dad narrowed his eyes. Adrian quickly added, He's my partner. Silence. Not a sound. Not even a breath. Margaret looked down, lips pressed into a tight line. Thomas's jaw clenched. Then, finally, a word. Oh. We offered them coffee. They declined. But they did come in, sitting on the edge of the couch like they didn't want to wrinkle anything. I could feel the air go cold. They asked about his work, his health, if he was still attending the old church. Adrian answered with vague nods and half-truths. Then Margaret turned to me. So you two are together, I said gently. Yes. More silence. She looked at her husband, who didn't say a word, then back to Adrian. You didn't tell us. I didn't think you want to know. Her voice cracked slightly. We're your parents. He exhaled. Exactly. Thomas finally spoke. We raise you better than this. Adrian stiffened. Then what? This lifestyle. The choices you're making. It's not who you were raised to be. I wasn't raised to lie, to suppress, to hate myself. Thomas's voice sharpened. You were raised to honor God, to honor your marriage. I was miserable, Dad. I was dying inside. Margaret reached for his hand. But you could have come to us. We could have helped. How? Adrian asked, with prayer circles and shame, with 4 smiles over Sunday dinner while pretending Jessie was my roommate. She looked down again. I spoke up gently but firmly. He's not pretending anymore, and I'm not going anywhere. Thomas stood. Then maybe we should. Adrian stood too. No, he said, not like this. His father stared him down. You're not the son I remember. Adrian's voice didn't shake. I'm the son you never really knew, but I've always been him. You just didn't want to see. A beat passed. Then his mother spoke. I did, she whispered. We all turned. She looked at Adrian, eyes glossy. I knew, not always, but I knew something. I just didn't know how to hold it, how to hold you, and I was afraid. Adrian's jaw trembled. I was afraid too, he said. I still am, she added. Then she stood and touched his arm. But I'm here now, and I'm trying. He nodded, voice low. That's all I ever wanted. Thomas looked between them, expression unreadable. Then he quietly walked to the door. We'll talk later, he said to Margaret. She hesitated, but followed. They left. The door shut behind them. Adrian sank onto the couch and cried, not violently, but quietly, like a faucet turned just enough to drip. I sat beside him and pulled him close. You were incredible, I whispered. I feel like a 10-year-old who just disappointed his parents. You didn't disappoint anyone. You told the truth. That takes courage. He leaned his head on my shoulder. She's trying. She is. He took a deep breath. I hope someday he will too. I think he saw more than he let on. Maybe. A pause. I'm tired, Jesse. I know, I said. Come rest. Later that evening, Adrian's phone buzzed. A text from his mom. You looked happy today. I've never seen that light in your eyes before. I want to know Jesse better. And I want to know you. Love you always, Mom. Adrian smiled softly. And for the first time, I think he let himself hope. Adrian's mother started visiting more. At first, it was brief. Tea, hugs, cautious smiles. But with each visit, the walls came down just a little more. She even brought photo albums once. Baby Adrian in a dinosaur onesie. Teenage Adrian with too much gel in his hair. And one that made us both stop, Adrian in college, smiling, arms slung over a guy neither of us recognized. He was in your art group, she said. Adrian smiled. Daniel, my first crush. She blinked. You never told me. I couldn't. She squeezed his hand. I wish you had. He looked at her. Me too. It was healing, but quiet healing. And his father? Still silent, still absent, until one afternoon. We came home and found an envelope at the door. No name, just a return address. It was from Thomas. Inside was a letter. Adrian read it in silence, then passed it to me. His father had written about his own childhood. The strictness, the fear, the black and white thinking, the church, the hiding, the anger, and the shame. He didn't apologize directly, but it was there, buried in the way he said, I don't understand everything, but I see you're loved, and I see you're standing taller than ever, and I guess that means something. At the bottom, just one line. Don't wait for me, but don't shut the door either. Adrian sat quietly for a long time after that. He's trying, I said. He nodded, and then he said something I hadn't heard before. I think I forgive him. Spring came fast that year. The windows stayed open longer. The balcony filled with pots and herbs and little candle lanterns. Adrian started smiling more often without noticing it. He even let himself be kissed in public. Once, outside the bookstore, he laughed when I pulled away and said, You're braver now. I have you, he replied. That helps. And one evening, while we lay on the living room floor watching the sky turn from gold to lavender, he rolled over to me and said, Do you ever think about forever? I smiled. I try to live in the now. Yeah, he said, but I think I'm ready to live in the next. A week later, he made dinner, his famous creamy mushroom pasta. We lit candles. We played our playlist. Then he handed me a small unwrapped box. No label, no bow, just him, looking at me with nervous eyes. I opened it. Inside, 2 thin silver rings. Not flashy, not showy, just simple, honest. I'm not asking for marriage, he said. Not yet, maybe not ever. I'm asking if you'll keep choosing me. I stared at the rings, then at him. Every day, I said, every damn day. We slipped the rings on each other's fingers and kissed like it was the first time all over again. Months passed. We built routines. Grocery runs on Sundays, lazy mornings, sketching on the floor. I never told you what really scared me. I looked down at him. What? That first night we slept together, it wasn't the sex. It wasn't the guilt. It was that it felt like home, and I didn't know what to do with that. I held him tighter. Now you do, I whispered. He nodded. Now I do. Later that year, we took a trip to the coast. No itinerary, just the sea, some books, and each other. On the last night, we walked the shore barefoot, waves lapping at our ankles, the moon high and wide. He stopped, looked at me, and with the sound of the ocean behind us, he finally said it. I love you, not in passing, not whispered in sleep, but out loud, clear, certain, like a truth he was no longer afraid of. I kissed him before I could even say it back. But I did, 100 times, until it didn't even need saying anymore. Back home, we framed a letter from his father, hung it next to one of Adrian's sketches, the one he drew of us, sitting back to back, heads tilted together, 2 cups of coffee beside us, and beneath it the caption, "From chaos came peace." We never talked much about how it all began. The money, the awkward silence after, the night that changed everything. Because what we had now wasn't born from that moment. It was born from everything after. From every choice, every tear, every "I'm scared," and every "I'm still here." Adrian and I aren't perfect. We argue. We forget to listen. We sometimes hurt without meaning to. But every morning I wake up beside him. Every time I hear his laugh across the room. Every time his hand finds mine under the table. I remember this was never just about sex or even love. It was about becoming. Together,